loud. Okay, we are recording again. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my Dotloop screen. And then everybody shows up over here. And then I want to make you bigger.
Heather.
Hi, Steven.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Oh, good.
Oh.
Awesome.
Okay, let's get out of this screen here. Boom, you don't need
Okay, we were actually just getting started, so.
Awesome.
Where did my
Okay,
other
so
stuff go here?
There you
first
go.
things first is you guys need to know where to go when it comes to Dotloop. So the first place you're going to do is you're going to open up a Chrome window and you're going to type in dotloop.com. And when you do that, you're going to get a window that looks like this, always. And then up at the top right-hand corner, there's a sign in button. And then you're going to sign in using your Dotloop login credentials that you received during your Keller Cloud setup. So most likely it is your email, whatever email you signed up with Keller Williams with, and or your KW one. And your password is going to be whatever password is your KW password. That's the typical sign-in setup that they do for Scott Leroy. So we'll try that and we'll have everyone sign into Dotloop. And it'll spin for a second, and then you will get a screen that looks like this, but probably has less or no loops in it. Is that correct? Okay. Jacob, are you good? Okay. Randy, are you good? Okay.
I'm signed in.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go over a little bit about what these icons up at the top are, and then different ways you can kind of filter your main screen here. So first things first, you'll notice you'll have the Keller Williams Southern Arizona logo, and it'll say Business Plus. And then it's going to say Keller Williams, and then whatever your office is. It'll either say Tucson, Marina, Oro Valley. If you are a River Road agent, it'll say Tucson, Green Valley, Sonoyta, I believe, if you are a Kolb agent. And I think we're all River agents on the call right now. So, and then, so you want to make sure you're in the correct office before you start creating loops, because that means you're going to be submitting to the correct staff. There are certain assistant MCAs that do certain commission instructions and that kind of stuff, and you want to make sure that they've got access to the right office. Up at the top, you're going to see a couple icons. You're going to see your reporting icon, your little smiley face with no eyes, which is your loops icon, your tasks icon, your people icon, and your templates icon. And then up to the far right here, you're going to see what should be your name. And then if you click on it, you're going to have a couple profiles under here. You should typically have your default profile and your business profile, and that's it. You may only have your business profile if I have a couple admin profiles, and then you'll have your member ID. What I'm going to recommend you do is write down this member ID and keep it somewhere safe that's not in Dotloop. If you start to have issues with something in Dotloop, when you call their support, it's going to ask for a member ID, and this member ID gives you priority over those who have the free accounts. So if you have this number, you'll be able to pretty much jump the line when it comes to support, and you're typically on the phone with them half, if not quarter the amount of time if you need to end up calling support. So I always like to mention that to make sure that you have that member ID written down somewhere outside of your actual system. Mm-hmm. So here you're going to see your people are all the contacts that you have. So I'm actually going to click in there so that we can see what that looks like. So in here, you're going to have your trusted service providers. You can have those set up in there if you want. And in the contacts, you can put your contacts. These are people you have added to loops. So if these are the people you've added to loops, their names are automatically going to be there in your contacts, and you can import from Google or input from Outlook. So any questions on that so far? Seems pretty simple, doesn't it? So if you notice, you have a big black and red bar across the top of your screen changed a little bit. So to get back to that main page, you can click one of two things. You can click this red home button next to the MyKW at the top, or you can click the little icon that looks like a smiley face with no eyes. And when you click on that, it takes you back to your dashboard. Here on your dashboard, you'll be able to see all of your transactions that are going, and you'll be able to search for transactions as well. So if I'm looking for 1234 East Main, I'll type in 1234 East Main, and it will pull up anything that's got that address associated with it. You can turn your filters on and off, so you can filter your loops to help. What I recommend doing is always making sure you're searching by all your loops, not just your filtered loops. And then you can search by anything. Less is more. You're going to find more if you do less, and your typical search engine tricks and tips will work. If you put quotes around something, it's going to find something that is exactly spelled that, and it's just that. So say you're looking for a client's name and their first name is Mary Smith. If you put Mary Smith in quotes, it's going to search all of your loops for something that exactly says Mary Smith and not just versions of it. And then when you're done with your filters, you click your filters and then you click apply, and then your filters will then update, and then you'll have a notification number next to your filters to see how many filters you have. You can also sort your loops by a couple different things: creation date, last updated, transaction price, listed date, expiration date, closing date, submitted for review date, contract agreement date, and agent name. I actually use the submitted for review date consistently, and you can see that if the arrow is up, it means it's sorting oldest to newest. If the arrow is down, it's newest to oldest. So, and then you have your submitted date right here. This little button right here changes it from grid view to list view to compact view. So if you're saying you're wanting to look at it in compact view, this gives you the most amount in one sitting. A lot of people like to look at it by grid view, but you can also look at it by list view. Oh, I think I clicked it. Gives you a little bit more as well. Any questions on basic Dotloop navigation and dashboard? Okay, now we're going to add a loop, and I'm going to teach you brokers' best practices when it comes to adding a loop. The broker's best practices may change at any given time, but I'm going to teach you your broker's best practices at the current moment, and then we'll move forward. And as I teach more, the different classes, you'll see if brokers' best practices change, they'll change within those classes is when I'll get that information out to you. So what you're going to do is you're going to add a loop. And the best thing to do is you're going to type in the address. So 1234 East Main. So if you notice that I typed in an address and a bunch of different addresses have popped up. I'm going to tell you from personal experience and for your sanity, do not click these. The reason I say that is because if you accidentally click one that you think is correct and it's linked to a listing agent, your loop is then always linked to that agent. So I don't recommend linking your loops at all by clicking these. So just type in the address, and it can just be the street number, directional, and street name. It doesn't have to be the full address. You're more than welcome to put the full address. But really, we just need the basics so that we can find it when we're searching for it to try to process final reviews when checks come in. We do occasionally get checks in that just have addresses on them. it helps us find the loops a little bit easier if we know what the address of the loop is if you put it in that property address or the name of the loop. I recommend you do a hyphen, you say if it's a buyer or a seller, and then what that seller or buyer's last name is. And then you'll click the continue button. It'll take you to the next one. We don't currently have any live templates, so you won't be able to put any templates in here. Once we get templates, you'll be able to choose between buyer and seller templates once they're live with broker approval. You can also add a photo. That little like stick drawing image that was on top of the loops and the squares, that's where that image would go. You don't have to, it's not a required piece of the puzzle. You'll click done, and then this is what your loop will look like. And then what we're going to do is we're actually just going to click on the loop on the address, and it's going to take us into that loop. Once you're in the loop, this will be your loop dashboard. So this loop dashboard, you can do a couple things, and I'm going to go over what you can do on here. So you can choose your transaction type, purchase, listing for sale, listing for lease, so on and so forth. So we're going to say this is a purchase. The loop status is a pre-offer. And then up here, we can also see the activity log. I'm going to open that in a different window so you can see what it is. So you can see that I created the loop on this day at this time, Eastern Standard Time. I changed the transaction type and I changed the status. So that helps, especially with what we are needing to do for ADRE to have what's going on in the transaction at any given time. I'll show you submit for review in a little bit. In the view details section here, this is also where you can change the name of your loop if you name it something, or if you just want to use the property address, you can change it to that. You can add people in here. If you want to add a person, you'll just click the add person button. Anything that's in that red text you can click on typically. We're going to put in the full name. So it's going to say, we're going to do Gary Keller. And we're going to say his email is gary@kw.com. Actually, I think that actually might be his email. So hold on. We'll call it Gary at 1kwsa.com. And then we're going to call his role, he's the buying agent. And then you can also fill out other things in here, like their company name if they have one, their address, their phone number, an ID if they have it. You can say that you wanted to send him an intro email, all of that. And then we're going to click add person. So now my client is in there. And then I'm also going to say I have a buyer's agent on this. So I have a buyer's agent on this, or an agent that's also working with me on this. So we're going to say Dan Caldwell. We got his email. He's going to be a buying agent. And I'm going to not fill in any more information. We're going to click here. So if you notice when I clicked the box that said add to my team, it says this cannot be undone for this loop. Team members share everything in a loop, documents, people, and tasks. This is only recommended for people working closely together on a deal. For example, agents on the same side of the deal that should be in the same loop team. Clients can be on their own loop team, but agents and clients should not be on the same loop team. So we're going to say, yep, continue. And then we're going to click add person. Change him, he's a buyer, not the buying agent. And then, so what happens is when you add somebody to your team, it's just as if they created the loop. So they can see everything that you do and you can see everything that they do. It's very much a partnership and it cannot be undone. Karen, this is going to be really important for you to know because you're going to be creating loops for that team. Then you can add Michelle or Steven or Sadie or Sam onto the team and they can see everything and do stuff in Dotloop if they need to.
Correct.
Cool. So I wanted to show that piece.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now when we get down to the property address, so any questions so far when it comes to adding people in the top section up here? Okay. Under the property address, so the country is automatically filled in. We're going to put in our street number, so 1, 2, 3, 4. In the street name, that's where you're going to put the directional. So you'll put the directional in with the street name, not with the street number. I'm going to call that East Main. And it's going to be in Tucson, Arizona, 85718. It's in Pima County. If you have an MLS number, you can also put the MLS number in here and or the parcel tax ID. Any and all information that you fill in the details section potentially can help you with your autofill in your documents in Dotloop. And so in here is where you'll put a bunch of information, you fill out all the reds. You don't have to fill anything out if you don't want to. And then we're going to say save. Once that save is successful, we're going to now go back to our loop. Okay. So the next section that we're going to look at are these two icons over here. So here is your notifications icon. If you have any notifications of things that have happened within the last 7 days, your notifications will show up under the flag. If you have any messages, this is where you'll have them. So these are messages that can come from your client to you, from you to your client, from you to the broker or admins on the team or admins in the office, or the other agent within the team. This is going to be really important because this is where the brokers are going to give you a lot of your messages in regards to what you need to close out a file. If we need information from you, this is where you'll be able to get them.
Heather, really quick, like when we have the notifications, is there a way to actually update an email address in there that notification goes to?
For a client or for you guys?
For us.
Yes, if your email is incorrect, you can go in and I'll show you towards the end. I'll go into the account section and show you where you can change your email.
Perfect.
I'm going to ask this question. Have you ever been sent anything to the email that you want to change it to?
Not at this time.
Okay, perfect. Otherwise, we have to go through something like I like to call the email shuffle, is sending it to something that isn't been used. So a lot of people get stuff sent to them and they'll click on it and it opens up a free Dotloop account, which then you cannot change your email to that account. It's really weird.
No,
So,
we actually changed our email address, so we need to update it.
Gotcha. Sorry about that. Okay, so a couple things in here. You want to make sure that if you're typing in here and you go to press enter, like most do when they're typing an email, if this is checked, which it defaults to, you will send the message. I have done where I've gone like, hey, so-and-so, enter. Dang it. Just sent a message I didn't need to send. So just be really cautious with that. And then you also have your send button. And then if you need to create a new note and send it to someone that's not already on this list, you'll click this new note button up here and it gives you all the people that you can send messages to. Any questions on that? Okay. Okay, so now to the best, funnest part, adding documents to a folder. So this is the best part because Dotloop is not only a signing platform and a compliance platform, but you can also fill documents out and get documents out of it. So it's more like transaction desk than most want to assume. You can actually access global documents within Dotloop. You can fill the forms out. You can fill everything out and set signatures and send it and also send it. So this is an all-in-one. It's a really good program. That's all I'm going to say. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to grab from the templates. That's going to be the first way I'm going to show you how to add documents. So you're going to see, you guys may see if you're following along that you're not going to have a lot of these here. That's because I'm an admin. But these down here, you're going to see a couple like Arizona Association interactive documents. You're going to see MLS SAZ documents. You may also see Northern Arizona, some other documents in here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to pull from Arizona Association. And if you've never gone through Dotloop before, when you click on the Arizona Association interactive documents, this window will not show up. It won't show you forms. It's going to give you a big pop-up window that says you need to put in your NERDS ID. So you'll need to make sure you put in your NERDS ID with no spaces at the end or at the beginning, because that's occasionally happens. And then you also want to make sure that whatever is on your National Association of Realtors account, that last name that you have matches exactly to the last name that you have on your Dotloop account. So you'll notice my name on my account is KWSA Tech Olaboni. The reason I had to put my last name on there was so that I got access to the interactive documents as a realtor. It had to match. So you want to make sure you do that. You'll click the OK button, and then it'll have you sign an agreement stating that you understand that you're a licensed realtor and you are allowed to have access to these forms. You're going to click agree and accept, and then once you go back into that folder, you'll just click on that folder again. All of these forms will show up for you. And then in here, they are fillable forms. So you'll be able to grab stuff. So let's grab things like, let's grab a buyer broker. And we're going to do a consent to limited. And actually up here, I'm going to say I want to search for a purchase contract. So that's the thing that you're going to be able to do in here is once you're in a folder, you can actually search. It's a pink bar, as I like to call it. You search the pink bar for forms. And as long as you're within the same folder over here, you can choose whatever you want within that folder. So I'm going to grab a residential resale purchase contract. And then I'm going to grab what else do I want to grab? I'm going to grab a vendor. Oh, let's grab a buyer's advisory. Okay, so now we're going to click copy. What it's going to do is it's going to grab the 4 forms that I chose, and it's going to upload them straight in here. Now there's one form that I'm missing, and that's the new ABA. I don't know if it's in this one, so we're going to check. We're going to look to see if, nope, we still have the old ABA in here. So we're going to say we want this ABA, and we're going to click copy. And now we've got a document in here. So when you're adding a document, once the documents are already in, you'll notice that those blue boxes disappear. If you just click this add document button right here, it'll bring the files in, and you can do a couple things. You can drag and drop files in. So if I have my file folder up and I want to go to broker files, I want to do the additional clause addendum. I wanted to drag it. I can drag it and drop it. And you notice how that blue box turns green? It means it notices that I'm going to drop a file in here. I can drop that file, and typically it does an error. Please hold. Let me go and do this one. There we go. It'll load in, and then now you have your what you pulled in over here. The other thing you can do, which I think is really cool, it's not something that was super functional in DocuSign that I really like that Dotloop does, is you are able to email directly from your email into Command. So if you click the email box, it gives you an email address that all you have to do is copy to the clipboard, hit the forward button on an email, and you can forward an email into your folder using this email address.
Hey, Heather, I don't have an email blue box. I have templates and browse only.
That's weird. You should have email as well. Does the top of your loop look like this, black and red?
Uh-huh.
That's weird. I'll have to figure out why. You should have an email option as well.
Of course. All right.
But let me see if I can pull an email up. It's gonna yell at me. I know it is.
I don't even have the option for one, so.
Okay. I'm gonna do a new share. Okay. So can you guys all see my email now?
Mhm.
Okay. So we're gonna now forward. I want to forward just this document, but we're gonna forward all of them. So we're gonna click forward. And I'm gonna do, I want that going. This one. This one. Okay, so these are the two. I'm not gonna do anything else. I'm not gonna type anything in here. Just in the to box, I'm gonna copy and paste it. So this is my loop that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make sure it's underlined in my email, and I'm gonna click the send button. And now, close that window. And I'm gonna share my screen back to my loop. So now in my loop, I'm gonna reload my page. And now you see that my wire fraud and my ABA that I just forwarded from my email are now in my loop.
So the loop has its individual email address in a sense.
Each folder has its own individual email address associated with it. So if I were to add a new folder, there's going to be another email address that's associated specifically with that folder in my loop. So each of these folders has their own, so say I add a folder and I name it miscellaneous docs. It now has its own email address associated with it. It looks almost exactly the same, except it probably got that changed. But it emails it right into that. So now you've got all of your documents in. I'm going to show you how to move folders. We're going to be a little fancy. So now that I've added a new folder, I can actually drag that to the bottom and change the direction of them. So I want this folder up front top, this one on the bottom. Okay, so before we do anything, we need to know what this folder is containing. So this one just says folder. We don't know what it is. We need to rename it. We're going to click these little three dots to the right. I like to call them the right click of Dotloop because they give you all of your options that you can do with that section. So what we're going to do is we're going to rename it, and we're going to name this purchase docs, so that we know what that folder has in it. And then we're going to put them in order how we have them in the checklist that our broker has. So we're going to make sure that all of our documents are in order so that when our brokers are going in to look at the file, they know what order and what everything should be in. And we're going to try not to change the name of stuff, because if we change the names, then our broker may not know what it is. And I've had that happen. So the reason I'm saying that is try to avoid naming it a shortened version unless the broker has told you to name it that. What we have on our checklist is exactly how the broker wants you to name them. So if she wants something as a final walkthrough, we're going to call it a final walkthrough or a buyer pre-closing walkthrough. We're not going to call it an FTW because as much as that's so much easier for all of us to know, sometimes it's hard when our brokers are looking at our files to see what it's called, and they can miss something that may be in the loop because it's named something that's not clicky in our brain. Final walkthrough is going to click in our brain. A Binzer is going to click in our brain. Something like FTW or EMR may not click in our brain. So we'll do that. So we're going to start with the ABA up top. We know the wire fraud's got to be up there. Oh, I have two ABAs in here. Let's close this one. So if you accidentally put too many documents in, so you'll notice I have two ABAs. I've got this ABA and I've got this ABA. So we're going to actually get rid of this ABA here because it's a PDF. So we're going to say, I want to get rid of this one. I'm going to click my three dots to the right and I'm going to archive it. You cannot delete anything out of Dotloop. You can only archive it, which is also a really good thing because if you accidentally archive something, it doesn't disappear. It just goes into where we can click show archived and it's just not bright black. So it's just not viewable. It's just hidden. So we're going to put them in order. Airport disclosures down here. Purchase contract is up here. This is up here. And that's good. Okay. So now we're going to go in and we're going to fill out all of our forms in Dotloop. Is everyone so far up to this point understand where we're at? Anybody got any questions so far? No. Okay, awesome. So now we're going to click the check mark box next to the folder. When we do that, we actually are check marking all of the documents so that we can open them all up. And then you'll notice that once I check mark them all, we have more options up here at the top right. We have the option to archive all of them, copy them, open them, print them, download them, fax them, which is also a really cool piece that Dotloop does, is you can actually do digital faxes from Dotloop to a fax number. And you get up to 100 sheets per month for free with your business account. Or you can share them. Okay, so we're going to say we're going to open them because we want to look at them all because we need to set them for signatures. We need to fill them out. We need to do all of that stuff so that we're ready to send them off to our client who's Gary Keller. Hey, Dan, did you get my invite to my Dotloop? See? Super simple. He's now on my team.
I was going to go mess with you, but I was like, nah, she's probably teaching the class right now. So.
Okay, so you'll notice that this autofill box comes up first, and then we're going to go and we're going to fill in everything. So we have Gary Keller as our buyer 1. We have Dan as our buyer's agent 1. We're going to put me, which is Keller Williams, Tucson, Moreno, Oro Valley. Actually, I lied. We're going to put Dan Caldwell as buyer agent 2. So he's going to have 2 buyer agent sections. And then we're going to scroll down. We have our address in here already. We have our buying agent information in here already. We're going to put in some of our financials. So we're going to buy this house that we found up on Main Street. We're going to buy it for $500,000. That's enough. That's the right amount of zeros, right? Yeah, that's the right amount of zeros. And we're going to do $2,500 in earnest money. And we're going to say we want it to close the first week in December because Thanksgiving is there and we can't close on Thanksgiving when we want to. And we're going to put our buyer's information in. So 520-555-0195. And he lives on 1234 South KWRI Avenue. Oh, well, let's do this right, Heather. 1234 South KWRI Avenue in Tucson. In the 1-5. And we're going to do the legal description of Tucson Valley 101. Too many zeros there, Heather. And then we're going to click autofill. When we do that, we're going to notice it says 2 roles have been assigned and 18 fields have been autofilled. So the way this is coded is it goes through all of those and it says, how many of these can we fill out? Well, that's not cool. I got to figure out why that ABA's got a bunch of stuff in it. So we have an ABA that's got stuff in it that I've got to figure out why. Please hold, let me write a note to myself so I don't forget to do that when I get off this call. Sticky note to myself. Okay, so in here we're going to put in the date. So the day that we're having them sign, that is today. And the client's going to put their name in. It's going to be Gary Keller. And they are going to be buying 1234 East Main Street in Tucson, Arizona, 85718. And then you'll notice there's 2 signature bars already filled in here. We only have 1 buyer, so we're going to assign 1. So we're going to click on it, and you're going to see down at the bottom, it's got assign field or sign now. So we're going to click assign field, and we're going to assign that to Mr. Keller so that he can sign it. So when we send it off to him, we can have him sign those documents. And then we're going to go to the next one, which is our buyer broker exclusive. So we're going to put his name in, which is auto filled in there for us. And then we're going to say it's going to commence this date. It's going to end in November. It's residential. You are 3%. 60 calendar days. Aren't going to fill anything else out. And as you noticed, autofill already set it up. So the buyers can sign here and here. It's already set a signature for Gary, and it's put his address in there because we put his address in on the autofill section. And then we're going to fill in our firm name here. And then the buying agent signature. So it says can be signed by buyer's agent or Daniel Caldwell, who's the buyer's agent on here. So we're going to have that. We're going to scroll down. And now we're to our wire fraud advisory. And remember, we added our wire fraud in as a PDF document from an email. So it's not set for autofill. So we've still got to put their name and their signature in here. So that's super easy to do. We've noticed that there's a bunch of icons at the top here. And now I'm actually going to cover everything that you can do on a document. So on here, we have a blank PDF document, and we can do a couple things to it. So we go down to file. We can save our file, print our file, download it. We can apply a template, save as a template, or rotate it. Under the add option, this is where the cool part is. This is where you can add signatures, initials, text, date, name, checkbox, radio button, or strike through. What do you think we're going to add on that name bar there? Which of these options?
Add name.
Name. Okay, so we're going to click name, and we're going to put the name here. And we're going to assign it to Gary Keller, and his name is going to pop up there now. The other option we can choose, if we want to just make sure it's filled in, is we click add text and click that text box there. We can just put his name in, and then it's good to go. So if you notice, when I clicked on it, I also had a bar that let me assign it. I can change the font or the size. I can change the alignment. I can bold it, italicize it, or strike through, underline it. It gives me the option of black or blue to choose from. I can highlight it. It gives me the option of none, yellow, green, or pink. It gives me a clause button. The clause button is really cool. I do believe our brokers are also updating our clauses, but in here are a bunch of clauses you can choose from that are already approved by our broker. I don't recommend using them now until I get approval from my broker, though, to make sure that they're completely updated how she wants. You can make it transparent or not. So if you make it transparent, then that means this box can actually go over a line, and you can make it look exactly like they're signing on the line instead of being a box on top of the line. And you can click the X button, which removes the field. So now we're going to do add signature, and we're going to set this signature box here. And then we're going to assign it to Mr. Keller, and now he's good to go. Any questions on that?
Yep.
Okay. So now we're going to scroll down to the bottom of our buyers. Go
The
ahead.
buyer advisory there, did you have to email that back to yourself, or you were just showing us how you could do that to add it into the loop? Because I got lost here trying to follow you after we picked all of our different documents we wanted, how you started doing the autofill. I got lost on that.
Okay.
I understand. I followed you when it comes to adding in the signature lines and everything just now, but I forgot how you actually got those documents in to do that.
Okay. So when we added them a couple different ways. We added a few of them through the templates.
Yeah, and that's what I did.
We added a few of them through dragging and dropping. And then we added a couple of them via email.
Okay.
So you can add them in any which way works best for you. You can either drag them and drop them. You can browse your files for them. You can email them in, or you can choose from the templates. Once you've got your documents in and in the order that you want them in, right here, you just click the little check mark box next to the folder and click the open button, and it opens every single file in there.
Okay. Thank you.
And then automatically what happens the first time you log in is that you have this autofill box. You'll fill in all the stuff that you want to autofill, and then you'll tell it to autofill and it'll do it. If you don't want to use autofill at all and you just want to go line by line, you're more than welcome to do that. You just click that X button and it goes away.
Okay.
We're going to go back down to our buyer's advisory. So our buyer's advisory, we're going to scroll down because we all know that the last page on this is the only thing that needs to be signed. So we need to make sure that that signature box is there, which it is. Gary's sign right there. And now we have our our purchase contract. So in here, there are a couple things. You've got all of your check boxes here that you can then assign to the buyer and make sure that they mark them off. Or you can mark them all off for them. Add an initial box here and put it down here, and then assign that to Mr. Keller. Now, if you do that, you can also do a couple things, and I'll show you the tips and tricks that are down here in just a second. So we'll notice some of this stuff auto-filled for me. We can go in and fill out the rest of our contract here. I'm just clicking things right now, you guys, so. No. This one and this one. Spell it right. See if I can spell today. Okay. Conventional. Okay, so if you notice, all of our initials down at the bottom are already preset for Mr. Keller so that he can go in and sign. So The next thing you'll see though is here. So on a purchase contract, how many of these should be signed?
Just one.
One. So you want to make sure that the right one is set up. So if it automatically defaults to this first box, if that's not the box you want him to sign and you say want him to sign this one down here, you'll click it. You'll assign it to no one. You'll click on the second one and you're going to say assign to him so that he knows exactly which one he needs to sign, so that you're not confusing your buyer that may not know with additional signature areas that they don't need to be signing on. And again, you just click the box to assign it, and you can either click the assign field and it gives you your drop down, or click on the box and come to this box to the top left-hand corner and choose no one, anyone, role, add person, so on and so forth. Make sense? Hi, Anne. Okay. So you'll notice a couple things don't come over. So if you want them, you want to make sure you mark them. And then you have your additional terms and conditions. Again, if once we get approval from the broker on the clauses, we want to make sure that if you want to add a clause in here, you click edit text and you can type in your clause, or you can click on it and then click your little add clause and choose. And then it autofills that text in for you. But again, if you notice that also when you click on the box, those clauses will also pop up for you. So you can say it's an all cash sale, absent buyer. You just want to, we'll verify with the broker and confirm with that those are good to go. We'll make sure she gets those updated for us if they're wrong. But then you're using them and you know that that text is something from the broker, so that you're not constantly asking, questions about an escalation clause or so on and so forth. Okay, and then you want to make sure that the rest of this, if there's anything that you want, you can also assign it. So say your buyer didn't give you their address and you want them to fill out this section, you'll just click whatever text box or check mark box or whatever you want them to be assigned to. You'll click on it, you'll assign it to them, and then it's no longer clickable by you. You can't go in and edit that. That'll allow them to go in and when they're signing, type in something or edit something if it's done incorrectly, so on and so forth. Same thing with your consent to limited. Okay, so down here on our airport, this was something that we dragged and dropped in. So this is our airport disclosure. So in here, I'm going to show you all about these little buttons down here. So everyone see these little icons down at the bottom right-hand corner that show up when we're in here. So these are your shortcut keys. So when you're copying and pasting something on a computer, you know that Control-C is copy and Control-V is paste. These are your choices. So we can say, I want to add initial here, and I want to add 2 sets of initials. So this is really cool when you have 2 like buyers and you want to do initials. You can then assign one person here and one person here and copy them both together. You just drag and put that square right over, click top above it and drag and pull, and it'll give you the choice. It's got both of them having that dark red square around them. If you hit Control-Shift-C and then Control-Shift-V and move your mouse around, those initials are together copied and you can place them anywhere you want and they're automatically set up for them. So you don't have to worry about setting a bunch of signatures. So if you get a purchase contract from a buyer that's already filled out and you need to put it in for your seller to sign, but you have 2 sellers, you can preset their signature, their initials on that first line, copy and paste them, and then just paste down the line. So it's really good for a TC. These were not here when I started in Dotloop. Those didn't exist. When I found out they existed, it made it prepping a document as easy as like bread and butter. Like it was so simple. I could have prepped a document in 5 minutes rather than the 30 minutes it was taking me to individually set signatures and initials. It was the greatest thing ever. You can do that with a lot of different things, including text boxes. So like if I have a text box here, I can hit Control-Shift-C and then Control-Shift-V, and that text box is movable and I can put it somewhere else. So I can move text boxes if I need to. You can also add things like your check boxes. Those you can add over your little check marks here and then mark them off. You can also make them bigger or smaller. They don't go too much smaller. They go pretty big though. You can add things like a strike through. So if you're needing to strike something out, which before you use a strike through, get with your broker, make sure it's okay to strike it out. You can use it as a strike through. You can also add a radio button. That's pretty cool. So your radio buttons are the little circles that you can mark instead of a checkbox. You can add dates. Which
The other
are
when
then
you add the
give you a
check
date box that
boxes,
you can choose from. Huh?
when you add the checks boxes, is that something that you fill out, or is there a box that then they can check also? How's the client check a box?
So if you uncheck something, you can actually just click on it and assign it to that person. And
Gotcha.
now they're the only person that can check it off.
Gotcha.
You can also add their name, which we did that earlier, initials and signatures. So signatures are, and the other really cool thing is if you do a signature, we'll do sign now. It's going to look like this. You can change it. And then we can adopt and sign. I can sit and draw a signature. I'm doing that with a mouse. Imagine if you're doing that in front of a client on a tablet, you can have them actually wet sign something, which is pretty cool. But when you do it, it automatically dates it and times it. So you don't have to worry about, I know with DocuSign, you have to put the time or the date on there as well on date signed. Automatically when they sign it, that signature automatically has a day and time. So there's that. Any questions on that? That was a lot of information. No?
No.
Awesome. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to save it. And then I'm going to show you how to share it. So now that we've prepped all these documents, my buyer is ready. We are going to send that off to them for signatures. So we're going to click our share button here. And on here, we're going to see that we're sharing the ABA, the buyer broker, the wire fraud, the buyer advisory, the resale purchase contract, the consent to limited representation, and the airport disclosure. And we're going to see that we're sending it to Mr. Keller. He's got one of 25 fields that he needs to complete, and he can sign. In here, we can enter a custom message. So if we do that, I'm going to tell you, it took me 3 years to realize I didn't have to put a greeting on my message. I just had to type a message. The greeting was already built into the email that goes out. Yeah, it took me 3 years to figure that out. So all of my stuff said, hey, client's name. And then it was saying, hey, client's name, and then my message. So I looked like a dork for 3 years. So you're going to just put in your message. Here are the offer. Let's just say the docs for your, for 1, 2, 3, 4 East Main. Please let me. And then I also always put my name, my company, because the email doesn't always notice that it's coming from your email, and you need to make sure that every time you're sending a message out to anybody, they know who you are and what brokerage you're with. And then I always click this button down here on the bottom left-hand corner of that box that says attach PDF to email, and then I click share. The reason I always do this is because it allows them to look at the documents and review them prior to going in and having to sign. It allows them to print the documents out and look at them and wet sign them if they want to. So all of that is something that they can do. So any questions on that? Okay, we're gonna back out then. And we're gonna get back here. So there's a couple cool things that you can do within Dotloop. And one of them is that you can move documents between folders. So say you created you created another folder down here that you needed to put stuff in, but you accidentally uploaded that document into your purchase documents folder. You can actually just click on it, and you'll want to make sure that it makes those that little crosshair symbol with like the arrows on it. You'll drag it, and then you can actually pull it down to the next folder. You'll notice it opened a little box up for me, and I dropped it, and it just moved it between the folders. Also, say you have a document in here. So say somebody sends me a purchase contract in here, and I sent this one as my offer, but my seller came back and brought another purchase contract in that I need to drag and drop over. We're going to do with the airport disclosure. So say this airport disclosure here is actually my new purchase contract that is got the seller signature on it, and it's accepted. We have an accepted contract. Yay. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag my new uploaded document straight on top of my purchase contract. And you'll notice that it sort of says replace with airport disclosure. Do you guys all see that? And I'm going to click, and it's going to say, are you sure you are about to replace the residential resale purchase contract TRID with airport disclosure? And I'm going to say yes. And what it does is it keeps the name of the document that I replaced, but when I open it up, it's the airport disclosure. So it keeps the document that you replaced it with, but keeps the previous name. So you're not having to make sure it's named exactly the same. You can just drag it and drop it right in. And that'll happen with a lot of our placeholders that we'll have in place with the new templates when they come out. And what actually happens is it doesn't delete the original document. Remember, nothing ever gets deleted in Dotloop. It only archives it. So then if I click show archive, I'm going to see that original purchase contract is going to be down here, hidden as an archive status. And then the ABA that I hit already is going to be down here. Oh my God, I need that document. I accidentally archived or replaced the wrong document. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over, once I've clicked that show archive, where all of this is like kind of not bold, I'm going to go over to the 3 dots to the right. I'm going to see I have the option to unarchive. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to make it a live document again. I can now go into this one and rename it airport disclosure again.
What? You lost me there.
I lost you. You want me to do it again?
Why did you put the airport into the purchase contract file to begin with?
Just to show you that you can replace a document within Dotloop.
Okay.
So what a lot of agents that I've noticed I've looked at a lot of transactions. I've been here for a little while. The biggest thing in Dotloop that a lot of agents do is when they get a new document in, instead of replacing the old version with a new version, they just add it to the top of the loop. So then they've got 4 versions of one document in a loop instead of one placeholder with the different versions archived as the new versions come in.
What do you mean by versions? Like ones that don't have complete signatures?
Correct.
Half signatures from one side, not the other.
Correct. So
Okay.
when you get when you send off your purchase contract, the purchase contract that we have in this loop right now, this one right here, is a buyer only signed purchase contract.
Okay.
So when I have my seller when I go completely under contract, say the seller agrees, yeah, we're going to go under contract, instead of having 2 purchase contracts in there, You'll drag and drop that new purchase contract on top of the old one, and it'll keep that new version of the contract and archive the old version.
Okay.
And it'll stay in the same place that it's at. It doesn't move it. Then it's in the same order that we've already set it so that we can find stuff when we come into the loop. A lot of loops can get really convoluted because when you add new documents in, it just adds them to the top. And then your dot loops are this long with 400 documents in it when you only need 20 or 10.
Okay, so what you did was took the airport and accidentally dropped it onto the purchase contract, which made the purchase contract go to archive.
Yep. So then we can just revive that, which happens when you move documents. Sometimes if you're doing it really fast and you're not paying attention, you can accidentally drop something on top of something. So like say I'm playing with it, I accidentally do this and I'm like, I'm not paying attention. So I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do because I'm just trying to rush through it. I could have accidentally covered up a document, which I've also found when I was helping some of the older file reviewers looking for files. They're like, that document's not in there. I'd go into the archive and someone had accidentally replaced the document, not knowing, and it's hidden in the archives.
Okay, so even though you replaced it with the airport, it still said purchase contract.
Correct, because when you replace a document, it keeps the name, it just replaces the document.
All right.
Got it. Awesome. So I'm trying to, since a lot of you are on the newer side, I'm trying to keep you from making some of the common mistakes that I've occurred in the past. So any questions on that? Okay, so the next thing you're going to need to do is now you need to submit your file to the brokers for review. So who can tell me how many days you need to submit your file to the broker within?
3.
72 hours. So you need to submit your file within 72 hours of any contract being accepted that includes your listing agreements. So we've got this is signed, we've got it agreed upon by both sides, we're ready to submit for review. So now we're going to submit for review, but we've got 3 folders in here. So first things first, we're actually going to submit. So up at the top right hand corner, right below the black line in your initials, is going to be a button that says submit for review or text that says submit for review. We're going to click on that. It's going to show all 3 of our folders. We're going to choose that top one because we know it's purchase documents because we named it purchase documents. We're going to call it a buying type because it's purchase documents. It's got to do with the buying side of the transaction. And then we're going to put any notes we want to that go to the admins and we're going to click submit. I'm sorry, I will error this out later. So now we're going to see that it says broker review. And we're going to see that the brokers need to review that. Now, say this folder down here, we're actually doing a listing. We're going to rename this really quick too. So say we have listing documents now. We want to submit this listing folder. We're going to click submit for review. We're going to say listing documents and we're going to call it what type? Listing. So now if this is purchase documents for a listing, would this still be a buying doc or a listing folder?
What?
Okay, so your purchase docs for your listing, you're not representing the buyer, you're representing the seller. Would this still be a buying folder or a listing folder?
Listing folder.
It's a buying folder and got it right. So it doesn't have to do with who you represent. It has to do with the type of transaction that they're processing in that folder. So since this is buying documents, even though you're representing the seller, it's going to be a buying folder. All your listing documents will be a listing folder. It's a common mistake. That's why I asked the question. So the reason behind that is there are workflows for for us to be able to do your compliance. And if you choose a listing type, it's not going to allow us to then submit that file for final review at the end. So any questions on that?
No.
Awesome. Okay. So once we've submitted our file, what's the next thing that we do? Do we need to get paid on this transaction?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So Jacob, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So I'm not sure yours is set up, and I got yours set up. Randy, yours might be. So when you're in my KW, so you'll go to mykw.kw.com. We're going to need to make sure that this is set up. See this little e-edge control panel? If this is not set up, it won't allow you to submit from Dotloop into Greensheets. So if it's not, Jacob, get with me after the class or later tomorrow and I'll help you get it set up, or I can set it up for you. Just let me know, okay?
It looks like it's set up. I'm pretty sure it is.
Awesome, awesome. Because I set yours up, Ann, so you should be good now.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm good.
Perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into view details on this loop. And we're going to click this option at the top right here that says submit to Greensheet. We're going to click submit to Greensheet. It's going to say you have invalid credentials. Your Keller Williams e-edge account is required to submit a Greensheet. If that shows up, it just means that your start my transaction button's not connected to your Dotloop account. And once you do that, now when I click, please wait because it says submit to Greensheet. It's now going to wait and it's going to pop up a window. If you have your pop-up blocker on, you may get an icon at the top right-hand corner that says it's going to block a pop-up. And then you'll click on that. You'll say always allow from between Dotloop and Greensheets, and it'll let you do that. Once you do that, then this will pop up for you and it'll be your Greensheet. Any questions on how I got that far? Nope, everyone followed? Awesome, awesome. Okay, so in here, you're only gonna need to fill out anything that is highlighted in red. So you'll fill out everything that's highlighted in red. So you'll start with your green sheet type. It's most likely gonna be residential because I don't see any commercial agents on here. We're gonna do our contract date is gonna be today because that's when we went under contract, and our close date is the 2nd. You'll notice how that auto filled there from Dotloop. It's going to be a buyer sale if I'm only representing the buyer side. It'll be a listing sold if I'm the listing agent. And it'll be both listing and sale if I'm dual agency covering both sides of the transaction. So we're going to say that this is both a listing and a sale just because that's the harder of the 3 green sheets to do. So I'll show you the hardest one. Then everything else is easy peasy. And then we're going to do class is property. Property type is always resale, even if it's a new home build or a lot of land. And then you'll notice your address is already in there. And we're going to click next sections. Any questions on that section? Okay. Sales price we're going to put here. So we're going to say we went under contract for $500,000. We're doing a 3% buying rate. We're going to do 3% on this side and 3% on this side. And you're going to want to make sure that when you type it in, you hit your tab button when you're done. And you always want to make sure that this has a filled in number. If for some reason it doesn't fill the number in here, then you may have issues when you get down to the agent detail section. But if it fills in, you should be good to go, no problems. Any questions on that? Okay. The next 2 sections will be pretty easy. Your buyer's already in there. Your seller, you'll say is Susan Seller. We're going to click next section. And now we're going to get to the agent detail. You'll notice that I'm already in here as agent A. Karen, if you do these under yours, it'll always have you first. You can change it. You just hit the little magnifying glass and type in the next name that you want it to be.
Right.
Okay.
I figured that out.
Awesome. Okay, so now we have agent A. Agent A is representing the seller. So we're going to say this is agent A. They're representing the seller so that they're the listing specialist. They're doing the listing. And then the seller is their agency. And you'll notice Though sales unit is red and I should be filling it out because it's a red section, it's grayed out. I can't actually type in it. That's because I'm only putting in the listing unit on this side. On this section, this agent A is only the listing unit. So we're going to type in, they're going to get the full unit. So they're going to have $1. The best way to describe your unit is to separate it as $1. If you're splitting it 50-50 with someone, each person gets 50 cents or 0.5. But you'll only have a total of 1 that you'll be able to split up. And then we're going to tab, and I'm going to recommend tabbing all the way through. It's going to make it a lot easier to not miss any lines. So we're going to tab through until we get down to whether or not I'm capped on royalty, and I'm not capped on royalty. I'm also going to tell you, don't edit this right here or this right here. These two sections here can potentially throw off the way the green sheet does its calculations on it in the internal system. So it may show you having a negative number down at the bottom here. Our Win More system will catch it and fix it, but high recommendation, just don't change it. Our Win More system will always be accurate. And if it's not, it's really easy for our assistant MCAs to make a change if they need to.
What about any additional fees an agent may charge in a transaction either way?
So if you're charging a additional fee, you'll put that in the bonus/admin fee option. You'll see how it's a plus here. You'll put that. So say you want to and pass through the 125 charge, you just put that in here, and you'll be collecting it from the seller to cover that charge. The other thing in here is your outside referral. So say on my listing, I had a 25% referral. It's going to say enter the referral data in the outside referral section below this referral. It's going to auto calculate that math for me. We're going to tab all the way down. We're going to say give $10 to KW Cares, $10 to KW Kids Can, and $5 to the Bold Scholarship. Now you can put zeros in here. You just have to put a number. And then any deductions you have, like you're paying an admin fee, those all go down here. AHA needs to be filled out. So we're going to do $15 to AHA, $65 for E&O. And now you'll notice that my total commission on that one, my net agent check's going to be $77.75. And out down here is where I can put my broker, that outside broker information for that referral. Any questions on Agent A?
No.
Okay.
I just did 2 that had outside referrals, so it was good practice.
Nice. Nice. So now for Agent B is going to be Mr. Caldwell. He's going to be representing the buyer on this transaction.
Hi, honey.
And then we're going to again tap through. So he's going to be the buyer specialist on this one.
Babe, I'm on a meeting.
Buyer sale. And then buyer. And then here we're going to put that he's getting that full unit. And we're going to tab all the way through. He doesn't have to pay a referral on that. He also wants to pass through his 125, but he's going to pass it through to his buyer. We're going to say that he is not capped on royalty either. He's going to pay that $10 to KW Cares, $10 to KW Kids Can, $5 to the Bold Scholarship. We're going to, come down to AHA, and we're going to do 15 to AHA, and I'm paying the E&O as the listing agent. And because each green sheet, only one person you only have $165 per green sheet, I'm going to cover it, which means he doesn't have to pay anything in E&O. We're going to put a 0 on that one for him. And now the agent detail section is complete, and we're going to see that he's making this much and I'm making that much. Any questions?
So you didn't split the units though for Agent B.
Why would I split the unit? He's getting the full unit on the purchase and I'm getting the full unit on the listing.
Okay.
Listing specialist listing gets 1 unit. Buyer specialist buyer gets 1 unit. We're on the same team, so we're on the same green sheet.
Gotcha.
Heather, quick
Yes.
question on that. If you had a lead agent and then a buyer specialist, and would you split that however they're determining their split? Okay.
Correct. So
All right.
say me and Dan were going to split the buyer. I could put myself in as agent C. And I'm also a buyer specialist. Say we're going to split this. He's going to take 75. So 0.75. So he's getting 75 cents and we're going to tab all the way through so he does his math. And then I'm going to get 25% and we'll just then calculate it through. And now we've got 3 agents on there, but we're splitting the unit for the buyer. So these, technically you can have up to 21 people on a green sheet. Please don't ever do that. Please. I think the most I've ever had was like 7 people. And that was not fun because you can do 3 agents per page and you have 7 pages. See, I've been doing this for a while. Okay, so once we're done, we'll do next section. In here for co-broker, this is going to be your agent on the other side of the transaction. So if it's dual agency, you can just type in dual agency 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0 because you have to put 10 digits in there. And then KWSA. If it's not dual agency, you'll put the agent's name. So we'll say this is Roy Long. That's his phone number and he works for Long. So what we then could do is we collect this information. Now, if you want to put on here, yes, I've spoken to them. I think they'd be a great fit, or no, they haven't. You can do that as well. You don't have to. You only have to fill the red sections out. Okay, so for escrow or for your vendors, here's where you'll put in all of your vendors that you're using, your major vendors. So you'll do escrow company. So escrow company is going to be title security. My escrow officer is going to be Lisa Cunningham. My loan amount is going to be 100,000. My loan officer is going to be Rich Osborne. And it's going to be a conventional. And it's going to be with intro lend. And my title company is going to be Catalina Title. And my warranty is going to be 210. So you'll always make sure that if your title company isn't Catalina, you're not using a secondary title company, then you'll just put title security. So if you just use, because I think it's Pioneer, you guys use Catalina down there? And do you know? You should look for the
We have Pioneer.
You guys use just Pioneer?
I hear you.
You can't hear me. I can see you're unmuted now.
Yeah, okay, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
So you guys just use Pioneer?
Yep,
Okay.
that's all we have.
So it depends on if your escrow company does title too, but then you have that option down there. So any questions on that section? Pretty simple.
Nope.
Now, what if it's cash? What do you think I do? Because I have to fill out the loan officer, the loan amount, the loan type, the mortgage company.
You would put none?
Yep. So you could do loan amount is 0, loan officer is cash, conventional is cash, or loan type is cash, and mortgage company is cash. Then we just know that it's a cash deal.
Okay.
So you can do either or, as you just got to fill them out with something. I actually used to have an agent do loan amount 0, loan officer Mr. Moneybags, loan type Monopoly Money, mortgage company Monopoly. She's done a bunch of different things in there. So I've seen some very interesting things get put into those sections if they're cached. In that last section, this here is your notes. If for some reason you need to make sure that something gets added to a green sheet, but you're not exactly sure where to add it, like if you're collecting a bonus from somebody, or there's a buyer's agent bonus if it goes under contract before a certain date, or so on and so forth, just put it in the notes section for the assistant MCAs. When they're processing it, if they have any questions, they'll then reach out to you, or they know where to put it. They'll just put it on your DA for you the way it needs to go. So any questions, any confusions, any something that you need to mention to the MCA department, that's where you'll put it, is right here in this note section. What I'm going to teach you guys to do is going to be broker's best practice. I'm saying it's best practice because it's something that I highly recommend that you do, just so that you know, is before you're done to submit everything in and you're ready to go, you'll click printable view. So it'll be up here at the top left-hand corner, printable view. It'll open up a new window for you. I'm not sure. Can you see this window?
Yes.
Okay. When it loads up, it's thinking. Maybe it's not going to give me a printable view until I submit now. They've changed stuff on me since I've been in here last. Okay, so we're going to submit first and then we'll go to printable view. So
actually, you can do a printable view.
You can. It's just
from here.
It just
but it's easier to do it's easier to do the submit to MCA and then do the print.
Got it. Okay, so we're going to click submit to MCA, and then we're going to go, oh, wait, I forgot something. I want to save it for later, and you got to go off and do something. So if you've started your green sheet, you can just start it. If you're not ready to submit it, you can just click save for later and you have access to it. Or you can click your submit to MCA. You'll click submit green sheet, and it will say partially accepted compliance. It still gives you the option to save for later. It gives you the option to reset the form. It'll let you go in and edit stuff. You're not going to see these buttons. I have those buttons just because I'm admin. So, but you'll also be able to see, so if you make a change in here before it gets processed, you can make these changes and then click save for later. And that, before they go in and accept it, will be able to change anything so that when it pulls over, it pulls the updated information over. And then you'll click printable view. There's your printable view. I always do print, and I save it as a PDF, and I click save. And I'm gonna put it in my documents, printable green sheet for Dotloop class. We're gonna save it. And now we're gonna go back into Dotloop, back into our main loop. And we're now going to browse my files. I'm going to find my printable green sheet for the Dotloop class, and I'm going to upload it in here. We're going to put it down towards the bottom so that it's in there. We know that it's been our green sheet's been submitted, and we're good to go. And we're waiting for us to review it. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. If for some reason you cannot create your green sheet through Dotloop like we did, where we clicked submit to green sheet, it popped it open. For some reason it doesn't. I'm going to show you how to get there. So we're going to go back to my KW. So we have my KW here. On the my KW, under technology, you're going to see an option that says, I clicked the wrong one. That says green sheet. We're going to click on that one, and it's going to bring us to our green sheet dashboard here. We're going to click create a green sheet. I'm going to say this a couple times. Even if you're the listing agent, you're going to select no, I am not. Even if you're a KW listing, you're going to select no, it is not. It asks me to choose between the market center, so I'm going to choose market center. It's because I'm in 2 market centers. So, and now it gives you that option. If for some reason when you click create a green sheet and you say, yes, I'm the listing agent, yes, it has, it takes you to KWLS, which means then it wants you to choose your listing from here and submit it to the green sheet from here. And that's not how we do stuff. So The answer when you're doing that is always no and no. Even if it's no and no. Cool?
Cool.
Cool. So we are 2 minutes over, but do we have any questions? Is there anything I didn't cover? Is there anything that is a burning question that you're like, how do I do that?
No, I have a question for
No,
submission though.
Okay.
What, under best practices, when is the best time to do your green sheets?
Good
With
question.
at the exact same time as you do your submission to review for the brokers.
Okay,
So I would do submit to the brokers, go do your green sheet, upload your printable green sheet so that those are ready, so that when the broker reviews it, is done reviewing it, then it'll get submitted to the MCA. So the workflow in Dotloop goes, you submit it, the broker reviews it, it gets submitted to the MCA department for them to put their commission instructions in, they stick it to pending or active, depending on if it's a listing or a buyer. If it's a buyer, it'll go to pending. When it's in the pending section, it'll sit in pending section until you submit it again. When you submit it again, which you don't have to do until all of your documents, all of your trailing documents are ready to go. So it's going to be looking for things like your spuds being fully signed, your Binzer, your final walkthrough, your earnest money receipt should be in for initial, any addendum, pretty much any document that you need as you prepare to close. When you are ready to close, the only 2 documents that will still need to be uploaded or should be uploaded are your checks and your final HUD, and that'll be done by the MCA department. At that point, you'll submit it for review and it'll go to final COE or ready for COE, which means then the brokers are going to review it for COE review and then mark it ready for COE, or they'll put it back to pending and give you a note saying you're missing X, Y, and Z for your file.
okay,
If they send it back, you'll put in your documents, submit it again, and it'll go back to review for COE. If it says ready for COE, that means the only documents that you are going to need to close out the file is going to be your checks and your final HUD, should being the operative word there. Once those documents are in, the MCA department will then send it to final review. When the brokers approve the file, it'll go to file approved. Once that file is approved, the MCA department will then close the file out and release your check.
Got
If for some reason you don't have all of your documents in, say you didn't go through the COE ready for COE process, then they may say check held, need docs, and send you a note for what you need. When you're done putting in your documents for that, you will then need to resubmit it for review, and the brokers will then, it'll go back into final review from checks held.
okay,
So for the brokers to review again and either approve or say checks held again.
okay.
Make
So
sense?
the maximum number of times that you can actually submit a loop for review is 3.
You technically only need to submit it twice
Twice.
unless you have a listing, and then 3 times.
Okay,
So your listing will be submitted, your your purchase documents will be submitted, and then you'll resubmit it again when you're ready to close the file out.
got it.
The MCA department will change the status once for you when they put the checks in the HUD and when they come in.
Got it. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I'm sure I have a million, but not for now.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks, Heather. Oh,
I'm out of
Thanks,
here. Or
Thank
we're
you,
done.
Heather.
You guys are good to go.
Bye, ladies.
bye.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, babe.
Everything okay?